Hey, if you're loving Creative Mind, check out some of our past episodes where we dive deep into topics like children's book illustration, video game design, filmmaking, and of course, the most important topic of all, how do you make a living as an artist? So please hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on so you never miss an episode. And check out the show notes for links to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube page for even more great content.
I know the solution's there. How am I going to get there? Especially I'm being attacked from this side and pitfalls on that side. And the fun is that path. The beauty of problem solving is getting there. And obviously the realization of a solution. But beautiful as that is, I believe the path and the adventure going there is the fun of it.
That is inventor, industrial designer, and all around, I'm going to use the word genius, Mark Garcia. And yeah, you heard right, an inventor, a guy who actually comes up with new ideas and goes, I'm going to make something good. Or more importantly, what's often in the case of an industrial designer is to look at a problem, think of 200 ways to make it better, then try those 199 ways of failure to get to that one thing that makes it new, good, better, to create, to invent a new way of solving this problem. And Mark here is really going to talk about his journey into the world of invention, but really his journey into the world of problem solving. And I highly suggest you grab a pen and paper and start taking some notes because Mark brings a really unique way of looking at things. So if you've ever thought about toy design, industrial design, or just have an idea to make something better, then this conversation is for you. So here we are with Mark Garcia. Mark, you are an instructor here at the Academy in the Industrial Design Department where they're designing cars and stuff for NASA and all this kind of great stuff. And then you have your company, Rogue Innovations and Designs, RID. And you have this title of Inventor, which we're going to get into because that just seems, otherworldly to real people to actually be a legitimate inventor. But your background is not in invention, I'm guessing. You didn't wake up at 2 and go, I'm going to be an inventor when I grow up. Or did you?
No, didn't dream of it particularly, but just kind of organically went in that direction.
How did you come to becoming an inventor? And I don't know how to ask that in a better, intelligent way, but how did that path for you come to, I'm going to be an inventor?
I don't think I've ever said I want to become an inventor, although one question from my former director at Mattel, she said, what kind of toy designer do you want to be? I said, I don't understand. And she said, what kind of toys do you want to make? And I said, everything. And I guess that's where it kind of started, but I've never particularly said I want to be an inventor. But I guess a caveat to that is when I was 6 years old, I remember specifically drawing on computer paper, solar cars.
Oh, really?
Literally solar panels, and I was drawing wires to their wheel hubs. Maybe it started back then. Maybe it developed as I learned industrial design and started designing things. But the inventor thing kind of just came to be.
Because you did your master's here at the Academy.
Second degree.
Second degree.
Yeah.
Okay. Second bachelor's. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you study before that, though?
Computer information systems.
So is that the cool computer game design stuff or something?
No, it's IT.
Okay.
Information technology, basically all the stuff that makes everything work, the internet, essentially.
Okay.
That's what I was in. I did that in the 90s when it was booming.
Right. When that was all there was to do.
Right. And that's where the money was, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Was it something you enjoyed or was it just a path to better money? Because that's the hard part. I know a lot of us, I ask that because a lot of people who have a second career or a second rebirth or renaissance, if we want to get artsy fartsy, did something because, hey, this is a job that is going to be good for me.
Yes, I grew up in a traditional household that said I was going to either be a doctor, lawyer, or in this new technology, computers. And so I chose computers because it was cool, it was new, and I enjoyed it because there was a challenge of learning it. And I got really good at it really quickly, and I went through the challenges of it and surmounted all of those challenges really quickly. And then I got bored because it wasn't something that I really liked or didn't empower my creative side, which I was essentially, like I said, drawing since I was old enough to hold a pencil. And so I did that and found that it wasn't for me, essentially. And that's why I went back to school.
Because I know we had talked before, you were in banking or something like that as well?
No, I was a bank teller.
A bank, okay, a bank,
Well,
okay.
yeah, when I was
You were helping to move large amounts of currency between the end user and banking establishments.
well, yes, kind of. Yeah, something like that.
I swept up a warehouse when I was in school, so I was utilizing different tools to remove debris from large-scale industrial complexes. So you came to the academy was it to learn to draw or to learn to design, or what was the impetus to go, well, I want to go to art school, which is a major decision at anybody's point in time, but even after a career and graduating and working, what was the concept or the push to then chuck it all and come to art school?
Alcoholism. That was the
Okay.
let me explain.
Okay.
Being in IT, like I said, I surmounted those challenges, got really successful really fast, but the challenge was gone and then I was not fulfilled creatively. So I chucked it all because I subscribed to a magazine called Popular Mechanics. And there was this term called the industrial designer. I had no idea what that was, but apparently they made things.
Right.
And so I researched it and I found San Jose State and I found the academy. I interviewed Tom Matano, the director there,
Yeah.
my now leader,
Yeah.
and Hideki. And after that interview, I decided I need to try this as an experiment.
Okay.
And so I kept working full time, went to school part time in the evening. After the first class, I was in love. And and also my other first class, I saw that I was not good at model making. And so in a way, I was like, wow, I'm being challenged. I'm failing I'm not doing so well at things, but I'm also finding that this appeals to me and my true creativity and soul, so to speak.
Okay.
And so that's why I chucked it all and said, I'm not happy. I'm drinking way too much
Mhm.
because I hate what I do Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And so that's why I said alcoholism.
Sure. No,
Indirectly
I mean,
made me change my life.
Yeah. A lot of people do numb themselves when it comes to, I'm not happy. Let's not find something that makes me happy. Let's just numb it,
Right.
to get into the armchair psychology. Has the creativity been the release that you need?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's good because we've been talking to people lately and, art as therapy has come up a lot and it's so important. I think as we all get older, I mean, I have a 3-year-old and not to make this about me, but I realize it's like, I can't yell and scream at him because he's a 3-year-old, but I can't yell and scream at myself because he's a 3-year-old. So if we just sit there and throw paint on the ground, everything seems to be magically fine.
Yes.
And for you, the challenge you're saying was the thing that drove you to be better?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you find in yourself that the challenge was the happy spot?
So just to be clear, the question is, what did I find about challenge in itself?
Yeah.
I think it's just my nature. Everything that I've I can't say everything, but I've realized that the things I come across that challenge me bring me the most fulfillment. And when I'm not challenged, I tend to get bored really quickly. And I've realized that's not a fault,
Sure.
the artsy thing, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that I had to do what really challenged me, and solving problems through my talent, if you
Mhm.
will, of drawing, as well as using my imagination was my therapy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So are you one of those people that you get challenged and it doesn't work out and you're not throwing things against the wall at the end of the day? You're still happy?
I'm literally yes. No, I don't throw things. In fact, I'm more compelled.
Really?
Like I can't. What? I know there's a solution. I know there's one. I know it, and I just keep going and ask my wife, to my detriment sometimes, "Where are you?" Well, sorry, that thing that I was thinking about still in my head.
Yeah.
And so when you said earlier about the aha moment, yes, I have that a lot because the challenge of solving problems doesn't make me throw things at the wall, but rather perpetually inspires me to find a solution.
Really?
Yep.
So let's go into that concept because I mean, when somebody goes to any industrial design class, and I'm going to sell the academy slightly here because
Sure.
the industrial design building is the most awesome. Every time I go over there, It's like, how do I convince my wife to let me do this in school some more? Because this looks like the most fun anybody can have, where it's like, here's all the machines. You got an idea, figure it out and make it work. And your number one idea is make it cool. It's like,
Yes.
you're going to pay me to do that? Now that you're doing it, how true is that statement, though?
It is 100% true.
Okay. Wow. Because I'm just making this stuff up as I go. So that's scary. Walk me through then the concept in your mind of what industrial design is, to explain it to people.
Industrial design, by definition, is designing for mass manufacture. Industrial, just by the word itself, means factory,
Okay.
or industrial to make it through automation almost, or in a assembly, so to speak, assembly line. So to explain it to people, industrial design is design for mass manufacture.
Okay. So it's making something that's going to be on every shelf and almost become generic, or?
Well, I mean, some things can be commodities. Then mass manufacture can be super premium and not necessarily super mass, and then super, super cheap and super duper mass. So, but regardless, industrial design is making or designing for mass manufacture, whether it's 1,000 pieces
Okay.
to 10 million.
Okay. When you sat down and realized that this was going to be, or that first class where you realized, okay, this is where I'm done. I'm headed down to this direction. What was that next step after you realized I want to do this? That seems like there literally is no end to what you can create. Where did you decide to start focusing your attention?
After I talked to Tom, I was like, okay, I'm going into the trans department
Okay.
to do cars and motorcycles. I just enthusiast. But I would say that after my first semester, I realized I didn't just want to do transportation and what that means, moving things, so to speak. I realized that there is such a large world to design for, and that's where my focus kind of started going to product rather than just.
And what was the appeal for that? Because I in the industrial design department, and when people started looking at it, I think that's the thing that, like you said, it's everything has an industrial designer's touch on it. Cars and motorcycles have to be the sexiest thing you could ever work on. If you say I'm a car designer, people just take 2 steps back and go, okay, you win. But what was your thinking, or what was the appeal to stuff that wasn't cars?
The fact there were many more problems than just transportation.
Back to the idea, there's going to be a million things that I can't figure out.
Yes.
Really?
Exactly.
What were some of those early products that you started to tackle and wrangle into, into submission?
Well, in college, I guess my first design project was for softball. I'm a softball enthusiast. Been playing baseball since I was young, and I made an invention for that. Basically,
for softball.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what? Tell me.
It was a pneumatic softball launcher to simulate fly balls, because I got my wife to play softball and my sisters. And I was like, hitting these fly balls I can do it, but it's not everyone can.
Yeah.
And I would like it. And so that was my first product that I went after. It was an invention, of course. I didn't know it back then. And then I went into, projects that were assigned to me, like parking payment system and everything. But interestingly, I started going into toys at the behest of my mentor, John Marsh. He said, your style and your energy, it just seems like you should try toy. And I didn't even know toy was there. I was training to be a consultant under him. And then I found toy and I was in love. I'm a big kid. That's why I liked cars and motorcycles in the first place.
Sure.
And so went to toy and fell in love.
I'm glad you brought that up, because toys seem to me like the hardest thing to design for, to me, in my mind. Because I mean, anybody that goes to art school or has a creative side, then they get a kid or they hang around kids and they start looking at kids' toys and go, this is garbage. I can do better than this. And then you sit down and do it and go, I don't know how to do this. How do you design fun?
There's many ways, actually.
Yeah.
You do research, which all my students out there, if they're listening, that's the first step. You got to find out what is fun. And fun is different for different people, but generally speaking, fun is what will make someone smile. And you'll know You just give something to somebody, especially a child, and they're having fun and smiling and engaging, then you've succeeded. If they skip over what you made and go to the box, which is a large competitor
Yeah,
to
sure.
toys, then you failed. So I don't know if that answers it in terms of designing for fun.
Is that something that actually happens a lot? You put a bunch of toys in front of a kid and they just look up at you like, what are you, stupid?
Well, typically when they're testing your toys, you're behind a glass like this. They
Okay.
can't see you. But it's interesting the insights that kids will give you because they're essentially the truth, right?
Sure.
And they walk up to something, it might be shiny, it might be a cool color, they'll mess with it or not. But it's all based off of research and precedent because typically there are traditional play patterns that we'll go after. I guess I should have said that before.
Okay.
But play patterns is something that designing fun is based off of.
And tell me briefly, because I don't want to do 60 minutes on the entire world of industrial design.
Sure.
But talk to me about these play patterns, because I think that sounds important, in a kind of duh way. Yeah, of course it's important, but it sounds important because so much of what we do has a play aspect to it. You and I and other people who are not in art school can talk about gamification of everything now as a thing, and that just is a fancy term for play.
Right.
So what is that concept of play then, those fundamentals you were talking about?
Play patterns?
Play patterns, excuse me.
Play patterns are things like hide and seek.
Okay.
It's such a fundamental of concealing
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're trying to find and then the challenge of trying to find it. The play pattern of competition, essentially.
Okay.
Can I do this better than you, whether it's skill or mind or whatever it might be. So play patterns like that are two examples of what play patterns are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you're designing a toy, because I'm trying to wrap my brain around like competition, hide and seek sounds so easy, but now I can't think of how to design a toy that's hide and seek and competition. My brain just farted, for lack of a better term.
Right.
I'm like, how do you hide and seek something?
Right.
So how do you explain that to a student to get them to understand that? Or even when you're designing for yourself?
Show them an example. Actually, one of the biggest things I tell them is to play.
Okay.
And that goes not just toys, but also product, transportation, whatever. Engage.
Mm.
And that's the only way for communication is relatively difficult, right? Especially with something so abstract as fun.
Mm-hmm.
So the only suggestion I can have is, here you go. Let's play together. And now you'll get a sense of what I mean. And in fact, if they don't get what I'm saying and they have their own interpretation, I'm more interested in that because that means fun has been reinterpreted and we'll have a new cross-pollination, if you will.
Okay. And for toys, how long were you in the world of toys and fun designment?
7 years, 2 years at Mattel, and then 5 years at KID here in the city. Their toy and game invention and licensing group.
What were some of your greatest hits, or were you working on for other people's projects, or is there something that people go, oh yeah, I remember that, or the good ones, of course. Well, even the bad ones if there's one that didn't go.
Yeah.
But what were some of those the iterations of fun that you were behind?
My first invention, so to speak, was on the Disney Pixar Cars team at Mattel, and I designed, relatively invented, and named the Chase and Change Frank, which is the big combine. It's kind of a bull anthropomorphic combine vehicle. And Disney really didn't like what was happening because it was violent and making a lot of mess. And I went back to my desk, redrew it, added a launcher to it, which got costed out in the end. But then it became a TVC, which is a TV commercial item, and my first product that I did as a toy designer. And that was at Mattel. And then once I left there, I guess a highlight from my...
Well, good question. What a TVC commercial item? So something that's featured in the commercial?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mattel, and they make a commercial, and it's on YouTube. My buddy that I've worked, he was in marketing on the same team. We're actually working together now, which is amazing. He was like, hey, here's a throwback. And he showed me the link to the commercial. Like, oh my God, that's awesome. And so that was the first one. And then the one in the toy and game invention era, so to speak, was something called Simon Optics. We reinvented the game to reflect this new paradigm of VR glasses. So we turned Simon rather into something that you touch, and actually some versions you didn't touch, you just kind of was near it, into goggles,
Okay.
VR goggles. And
Okay.
again, so the impetus was to get people to move. And we thought that if you could put your hands in front of Simon, it looks like you're dancing. And yeah. So those are two highlights of among others, but
This is kind of fascinating to me because those of us who are old enough to remember the movie Big, Tom Hanks's character works for a toy company, and there's the whole idea where he's like, well, why do you want to play with a building? What's fun about
Right.
playing with a building?
Yep.
But how does a pitch session go for people who are thinking about toy design or just design in general? Toys being, again, I'm going to oversimplify it by saying toys are simple, which obviously they're not. How does a pitch session go where it's like, okay, give me some ideas for toys, everybody, and everyone starts smoking their cigars and going, all right, impress me.
Yeah, right. How does the pitch session go?
Yeah, how do you go, I got an idea for a toy?
Well, first, it's not in person as much anymore. As an inventor, we were in the shop and the work lab, so to speak, making prototypes, proof of concepts that we could video and send to our global clients.
Okay.
And then if they liked it, then they're like, okay, let's talk.
Okay.
And then we'll fly in, show it to them, make deals. Or if it was that type of session, we were in front of a whole group. It would be at a larger conference or something where we would be showing them a bunch of concepts all at once. So the pitch sessions, virtual, over video, and the scenario that you were describing.
So when you're in the shop, you're just making, I know saying this just sounds so stupid. You're just making a toy.
Yeah.
And then you film yourself playing with the toy.
Yep.
And you send it to somebody and go, that looks fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Simply.
You go, yeah, that's it. And that's a degree. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have to rethink a lot of things now because poor Tom and Antonio are going to have me sitting on their desk going, hey, can you look at my stuff? That does seem like the greatest job ever.
Kind of.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, it's the second greatest job.
Okay. First greatest job then.
A invention consultant.
Invention consultant. Okay. I'm going to put that here because I want to get into the inventor term because again, my brain cannot get past the concept of inventor.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to blame Rick and Morty for all things.
Yeah.
I imagine you walking around, you've got the hair already, just screaming, great Scott, great Scott, great Scott all the time and looking for the infamous flux capacitor.
Right.
But how do you then, well, here's a question that actually sounds like a question. When you wake up in the morning as an inventor, walk me through the day. What does that mean to be an inventor? How do you face the day that way?
First thing I would do when I wake up is look at my schedule and see what appointments and things I've carved out for the day in terms of my projects and whatnot. And so get up. Luckily, my company, I run from home.
Okay.
So take my daughter to school, feed my youngest daughter, get her situated, and then go to the office, which is an office in my house, and basically go at whatever client work I have, depending on. And so that is my day from about 9 to 2-ish when I have to pick up my daughter from school, bring her back, and then I kind of keep going again. Stop for dinner, put the kids to bed, hang out with the wife, and then I go again.
Okay.
And then try to get to bed at a decent time and repeat.
When you're thinking about inventing or thinking about problem solving, there's a creative process a lot of people have, whether it's painting, you're looking at colors, you're walking around taking pictures or trying to find, hues and tones and saturation levels and things. What are the things that stop you throughout the day and go, well, that was really cool, or hey, that's a problem, or hey, how did they solve that? Where do you find the inspiration when you're creating something?
Everywhere.
You can't do that to me, man. Come on. My questions are bad enough. You gotta help me. How does that, what is something that you go, and I know the answer is going to be everything, but what is it that makes your brain stop? Give me an example of something that when your brain just stopped, okay, hold on. Let's tear this thing apart.
What makes my brain stop? Unfortunately, I don't think anything really makes my brain stop.
Okay.
It's kind of more of a curse at that. But what will, I guess it's just those moments that you solve a problem, because every problem has many sub problems
Mhm.
and lots of insights that come from these problems and challenges. And I think the things that make me kind of just like, whoa, is when the problem is solved and I'm like, yes. And I know it sounds really oversimplified, but it's when I go through all my processes and try do everything I can to resolve this problem
Mhm.
challenge.
Yeah.
And once I get there and I know it, that's when I'm just like, oh, great. But then what's interesting is that that is just a theory. All my solutions are hypotheses
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
And so I try them, and if it succeeds, great. But when it fails, which it does more than half the time, uh, I'm challenged again to try and solve it. And so I stop, rethink, and go again.
So give me an example of something that you've been working on, because there's so many small inventions and so many small things and so many problems that people are solving that we forget. I mean, whoever invented the zip tie or
Ugh,
whoever invented
oh
Velcro, or,
gosh.
those simple things to whoever, hand crank radios or all the things that we touch. Give me an example of something that you're working on now
Hmm.
that, you saw a problem when I not only can solve this problem, but make it better. Or is that how you look at it? Is it problem solve and better, or which comes first?
Well, as a invention consultant, typically I work with startups that are like, okay, so we have this concept. We probably filed for a patent, but we are facing the reality that we are not the only ones that have thought about this. So they hire me to help them find that ownable point of difference. And so to answer your question, yes, that is my process. I take what they have and say, I know, or not I know, I believe. I
Okay.
believe that I can get this. I guess better is a word, but I guess to another
Well, you
level.
you mentioned something there, point of difference.
Yeah.
Explain that.
So with patents and just things, like why would you buy this mic versus another mic, right?
Mhm.
Because this one has a set of features that allow this to have a point of difference from being that one.
Okay.
And those points of difference between products might be really tiny or not at all or
Mm,
non-existent
okay.
or huge,
Right.
right? And it's my job to give a point of difference that someone can own and patent, which is making it become the first. That is
Okay.
kind of my motto.
Okay.
Invention is the act of creating the first,
The
essentially.
first.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, so that, I mean, when it comes to patents, because I mean that's a very large thing to unpack.
Right.
But that's the ownership of it. The patent is, I own the patent of it. I'm the one who created
Yes.
this thing. But it's in your mind, or in everybody's mind, it's the first then. Okay. Okay. So it's not just an iteration, it's this new idea.
I mean, it kind of is an iteration to the point where you've iterated or kind of recreated it into something completely with a point of difference,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah, because I mean, patents are, I mean, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
world we can get into. And neither of us are lawyers, so I'm sure I won't be able to ask intelligent questions on it. But yeah, continue on, tell me more on that, where you've got the client that you're consulting for and they've got a thing. And it's like, well, how do we make this thing ours? What is it you're looking for other than new things? What's the brain path or the thinking path to making this thing original?
Mm,
Because I know it's hard for me to. I mean, I understand the words you're saying, but I don't know where to take that first step.
sure. The brain path or the process, if you
Mhm.
will. The first thing I do is identify the problem that they're solving. Most people will jump to a conclusion, if
Okay.
you will. The brain path that I practice as well as that I teach is forget the solutions or the existing solutions, because
Okay.
those are only going to kind of give you tunnel vision, so to
Okay.
speak. Let's break down the problem so that we can identify a platform of which to truly innovate from. Because some people look at a problem as one way when a problem can truly yield a lot of different possibilities, especially if you start from that fundamental.
And you want to limit the possibilities, or when you look at something, you go, wow, this has a lot of potential. There's a lot of things it can do.
Right.
Is that good, or is that bad, or a new set of challenges?
I believe that when you identify a problem, it allows you to have many more possibilities. Because once a problem has been stated, then you kind of have a direction, if you will, that you're already going towards. But if you have a problem statement that is broad, you can approach it from so many different directions and refine, of course,
Sure.
to come to the goal that you're looking for. But that initial part of figuring out what the problem is without jumping to conclusions,
Mhm.
to jump into conclusions, Matt,
Mhm.
is the first step in the brain path, or
Okay.
brain process.
Right. As you're explaining this, I mean, for those of us in the Silicon Valley, and it wasn't that long ago, the juice company that squeezed the pouches of juice, and everybody went, wait a second, I can squeeze this pouch of juice into my cup. Why am I buying an expensive thing? And you would think somebody would have figured this out at some point. And, it's like, is it an invention? Is it a marketing thing? That jump immediately, I'm thinking, they jump to conclusions. Well, you're going to need something that squeezes. You can't possibly have two things connected to you at all times that squeezes.
Right, right.
Does that come up when you're consulting on inventions? Go, well, that's just, I know you don't say that's dumb. Maybe you do. Just go, that's dumb, or that's not, you're missing. Are they not seeing the problem, or not seeing what the problem really is?
I think there are products that are empowered by resources that might be misdirected.
Okay.
That's all I can really say. And, it's all arguable and debatable. But I guess, and without trying to jump forward to, I've identified that a lot of the things that are made in this world are determined, their paths are determined by those with resources. Luckily, those people that have all those resources are relatively smart, or most of them aren't just throwing money at like, oh God, that was a dumb project, right? So most of the projects that I see are pretty on point. However, I could see, or actually I have seen some things like, really? Why would you do that? But again, it's debatable.
So you've identified the problem, and we'll try and get back on some path. You've identified the problem. You realize, okay, here's the problem. We're not going to figure out what the solution is. We got to actually think about the solution. What's then the next step in that, where you're working with your client and going, okay, so now we can start doing things? What are some of those things that you're starting to think about and getting them to communicate with you?
Frankly, I'm not thinking yet.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
the next problem would be research. Find out what's existing, find out what is emerging. So basically, research,
Mm.
finding out everything I can about this problem, about the solutions, what they've come up with, what could be, and gathering it all so that I can do the next step, which is ideation. And I've come up with a way, and I've taught this to all my students, a way to formulaically generate ideas through all the insights that I've yielded from research. So to answer your question, research, then ideation.
And for ideation, is that the most fun, or is that the most challenging?
It's the most challenging, therefore it's the most fun.
I know for you, but for the other guys, are going, nap, do it again.
I would say most people have a lot of fun with the ideation part, depending if they can create ideas, enough ideas, because when you've got that first, second, third idea, but you need to come up with 50 ideas.
Right. Because that's a question, that comes up a lot when we talk to a lot of, I'm going to say, traditional artists who are making visual statements. But, as more and more as we talk to people who are illustrators, I'm not an illustrator, I'm a problem solver. What's the point you're trying to get across? I solve that problem by drawing a picture.
Right.
And it's a very different mindset shift. Oh, how do you get past ideation number 3 into 50? What are some of the things that you've learned or can help people to understand how to get to 4, 5, 38, 72?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I think I might have mentioned it already, but there's this thing a tool that I've made out of Excel, essentially. And it's based off of all my research, and I break a problem down to all of its components. And all of those components I brainstorm individually, and I literally make a knowledge bank, if you will.
Okay.
of which I can cross-pollinate directions and formulaically create 50, 100, 200 ideas really quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to shift here because you're going to have to give me a product. You're going to have to, and I want to do that because I know when I'm talking to you and other people who consult for people, it's like, I can tell you so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then I have to stop. Do you have a product that we can break down?
I mean, we could break down a product in here.
What would be a good product that we can really break down and you can tell me, some specific, like it didn't do this, it didn't do that, it didn't do this, we need to do that.
So I have a particular one that we literally just did this last week.
So to best explain this, because the theoretical stuff a lot of people understand, especially if you're into industrial design, or more importantly, a working artist designer. But for people who, like myself and people just starting out or coming out of high school and thinking, hey, I like this concept, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
Give me an example of a specific product that you've got, and let's break that down if we can to, specifics. As best you can.
Due to non-disclosure agreements,
Yes.
none of the current products I can really talk about specifically.
Okay.
But I could talk about the process and how it applies.
And can you tell me some of the specifics of the problems they're trying to solve? Because I think, or what's the better, because I think when, problems might be a generic term to somebody who's not used to problem solving for a living.
Sure.
Because like when because I want to talk about the cannabis stuff just because it sounds fun.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this and you tell me. So, if we're going to, I know you're working on a lot of cannabis stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can smoke it, you can eat it.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is that?
Well,
not that difficult, right? But it seems there's a million ways to do it. Back in the day, I was a much more fan of the beer can air bong. That was my modus operandi.
Nice.
Or the paper towel roll with the dryer sheet on the other side.
Right, of course, classic.
But when somebody comes to you with that problem, like how do I better consume cannabis? And disclosure, we're in the state of California. It's legal here, and you can use substitute cannabis for tobacco, which is legal throughout the world. Enjoy, call a lawyer. We're not here to solve that.
Right.
But how do you, when somebody comes to you, how do I make a better smoking product? That seems like I can't make a better smoking product. But how
first,
do you do it? Run with
you're
it.
talking to an inventor.
Yeah, so how does that work?
It's something that I say ever.
Yeah, right.
But how do I make a better smoking product? Well, there's what is better and what part of smoking are you talking about? Is it the preparation for smoking? Is it the actual smoking process itself? Is it the post-smoking process? Is it the transportation of that device? I mean, there's so many aspects to, and
you're answering my question correctly. Where it's like, holy crap, I didn't think about any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's my job.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to give you the problem. You give me some iterations of solutions there.
Okay.
So before cannabis was legal in California and other states, you had it in a plastic Ziploc bag, and it was in your pocket or in another Ziploc bag wrapped around something that smelled not like cannabis.
Yes.
And you had a bong or you had a pipe or you rolled it with tobacco. And I'm sure I'm missing a whole lot of other things. What are the problems that you've discovered or the problems that bring about this concept of, okay, we need to invent something for this?
Well, so that's one of them, the smell. That's definitely a problem, whether it be for retailers or for the consumer. Delivery also, because apparently it can't smell if it's packaged.
Okay.
That's actually a true factual issue that retailers must adhere to.
Okay, that makes sense. Again, you say these things and they're big duh moments. Like, yeah, I can't smell a Twinkie until I open up a package of Twinkies. So,
Right.
It can't smell.
Right, of course. I mean, that's very obvious, right? But those are just some problems. And then rather than just the consumer side, there's also the industrial side, right? So there are farmers, agriculturists that basically make this as a crop, right? There's procuring it, there's putting it in the ground, caring for it, heating it, drying it, processing it, clipping it. What do you do with those clippings? I mean, there's so many problems with just a huge industry like that.
Yeah, if we were to replace cannabis with corn. And so many of us in COVID times have, taken a stab at gardening, and you start going down the rabbit hole. Oh, I got to clean my scissors between plants, or I'm
Right.
going to murder my poor little corn plant.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So there's, on the industrial scale, you need to solve problems for millions of pounds of product A.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's designing for mass.
Okay. So again, to get people to think about cannabis, because that's the way everyone pays attention. I'm sure in class, the moment you say cannabis, everyone listens.
Maybe.
It's like in photography class, where it's like, today we're going to be photographing the human form. Everyone immediately wakes up. Goes, hey, I'm gonna clean my lens now.
Right.
But so there's the industrial side. I mean, other problems, so you said for the retailer, give me some more of that, because that is ultra fascinating to me, because I think so many people, when they're solving problems, are forgetting the real important side of it, the retail side.
I'll give you a great one. So for those original aficionados, so to speak,
Are those old heads?
the way that you rated quality was by smell. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I could smell it across the
Oh,
street.
no, not that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the retail world now, you can't do that. You can't breathe on product because no one wants something you breathe on. Right?
Right.
But I want to smell it. There's a problem. You cannot sniff the flower in retail today.
Oh.
There's a problem. I can't give you solutions.
Sure. No, but
but-
yeah, and you can't make a scratch and sniff sticker. That
No.
doesn't quite
Absolutely
do
not.
it.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's the big, again, all these duh moments are like, I can't even begin to imagine how to solve that problem. I mean, part of me wants to go, it's like opening the cookie jar really quick. Do you smell it? You smell that? There it is.
You're closer than you think.
Okay. That's the different rabbit hole.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah. See, I'm too old and I have kids. So, to me, it's all gummies, but that's got to be another concept. Because as I'm thinking of this, I've opened a pack of gummies, and these gummies could be multivitamins. And opening a package of gummies is outrageously difficult.
Yes. Right.
For good reason.
Yes. Right.
But somebody's recreated the Ziploc bag
Yes.
at this point. And so you said smell.
Yep.
I'm guessing now tamper-proof. I'm answering my own question, so please jump in.
No, yeah. The CR is what they call it.
Okay.
In packaging is a huge problem. Not problem, but a platform of which to innovate from. The re-innovating or the innovating of packaging
Mhm.
for the cannabis industry is huge because we cannot let our kids open these things.
Sure.
Right. I
Sure.
mean, we've done it for years with medicine.
Yeah.
The push and turn.
Yeah. The childproof lock
yeah.
that's not all that childproof.
Right. But what's interesting about this industry of cannabis is it's the Wild West. It's the green wave, as they call it.
Yeah.
And right now, everyone is scrambling to find, I guess, companies or resources that can bring that innovation to this juvenile industry.
Mhm.
It's so crazy.
So you've got smell, we've got CR. So what CR stand for?
Child resistant.
Child resistance. Okay. And other retail issues. So, logistics, because I'm guessing freshness is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who remember dirtweed.
Shake.
I think that's oregano.
Yeah.
They wrote songs about this in the 70s, for crying out loud.
It's still till today.
And you've got consumption, which to me sounds like the most important, but already what you're telling me, there's a million other important things that I could probably more exciting, but the consumption part of it, is there still innovation happening in consumption or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. From the old head, like you're saying, the days of burning
Mhm.
seem to be waning compared to vaporization
Mhm.
or vaporizing, I guess.
Sure.
I think I made up a
We'll
word.
say vape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that
But,
quickly went away.
well,
or-
no.
No. Okay.
No. It's actually become a different form of vaporizing,
Okay.
just quicker, faster, cleaner,
Mhm.
stronger, Bionic Man stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so consumption has something like that so many people are enthusiastic about will go through its evolution, if not slowly, but rather quickly.
And again, I'm not to get all Joe Rogan on this.
Please do. I love that guy.
Well, yeah. Because it's funny, we're talking about cannabis only because you had mentioned it before, and it's that thing that, it has changed so much that it's far more acceptable especially now the legalization of it everywhere. And I am far from an expert on any of this kind of stuff. But from the industrial design standpoint, like you said, it's the Wild West. I mean, what else are people coming to you for when it's cannabis? Well, eventually we'll get off cannabis and talk about more exciting things like toilet paper or something
That's
like
totally
that.
great.
When people are coming to you or thinking, what are some of the other problems they're trying to solve, or the other inventions, for lack of a better word, that you're experimenting with, that you're starting to see people think about?
Sure. Cleaning. Every device gets gunked up.
Right.
Is that good enough?
Yeah,
You want more?
yeah, because it's, but yeah, I mean, this stuff leaves a resin
Yes,
and it has to be cleaned.
that's right.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah.
Again, a duh thing, but yeah, if you can be the world's cleanest product, you're
You heard of Mr. Clean, right?
right.
Mr. Green,
Mis-
maybe? I don't know. I don't know if that
Mr.
works.
Clean Green.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
green, the
something.
big green
Yeah,
monster.
there you go.
So, okay, cleaning. Okay,
Yes.
what else?
Storage,
Okay, yeah,
freshness, like you said. I guess processing and making it yourself, because people at home want to be able to have their own resource, if you will,
sure, right.
and the home producer. Because apparently I don't know anything about this, and you can have a certain limit of which you can produce enough for yourself, and that market really needs to be innovated. And I'm hoping, actually, I have a meeting on Monday to talk about that.
Again, every time everything you say, I'm just going, God, it's funny because you look at those little home kitchen countertop, grow your own basil herb things. You're going,
Mm-hmm.
probably grow weed with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And probably are growing weed with that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, what's interesting about this industry, it's not just cannabis. Cannabis is reflective of an industry called agriculture. So whatever they've been doing, you can do now for this new component of agriculture.
Okay, this
So,
new crop.
yeah.
It's just a thing.
It's just
It's a plant-
translation,
it's a plant
right,
that grows out of the ground.
essentially.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are we gonna see canned corn with cannabis in it or
I
something?
don't know where people are going to take it, but I'm taking the company to the MJ BizCon in Vegas next month, so we can further our entry as one of the initial innovation houses for that industry. And so I'm excited to see what they do over there, because obviously there's so many people thinking about it. There's
Mhm.
so much money here that the industry is going to evolve quickly. I'm really excited to see what people are going to do, because I say that what I do is almost reactionary. It's like
Okay.
people find problems, they come to me, I help them solve it, right? And I do this sometimes, but I'm so busy in the other thing that I don't actually look into it and say, you know what, here's something new you can do from me, so to speak. I have for other industries, but for this one, it's been relatively reactionary. And I'm hoping that when I go to this conference in Vegas next month, that we're going to find something to, rather than consult on, create ourselves and possibly manufacture.
Give me an example of some of the things you've seen, just for cannabis that you went, oh wow, that's a pretty cool idea. Is there something that you looked at and went, oh man,
Not yet.
not yet?
Not
Really?
yet. That's why I'm going to the conference.
Okay.
Because, well, okay, actually, let me take that back. This thing called dabbing, I don't know if you know what this is about. I literally had to watch a video to see how that works, and it scared me. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, holy. But I get it. And so that, I take it back, that product, or that technology is an interesting one. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. So there's a product, and that's one of the, I believe the reason why I reacted to that is because it's so new. There you
Yeah. It's somebody funnier and more intelligent. Like, never underestimate stoners in trying to invent a
Oh
new
my
way to
gosh.
smoke.
I'll subscribe to that.
Right. So on the outside of cannabis, we talked a little bit about that invention concept and the creative problem solving. When somebody wants to start an invention, you mentioned research, you mentioned iteration, they've got their product, they're hitting that roadblock, they're coming to you for guidance and consulting. What are you explaining to them, or how are you shepherding them through this? You talked about your process, but what's the mindset shift that you see that people need you bring to that conversation? A lot of people invent, a lot of people problem solve, and this is not, challenging you, but what is the benefit of having a consultant and another inventor on this product?
Perspective,
Okay.
especially from the, again, point of difference for sure. Engineering, manufacturing, marketing, again, the whole gamut of what can make a product competitive, as well as ownable and successful ultimately,
Mm.
because it's all about making money, right?
Right.
I have experience and I have a team that can bring all of those critical points of perspective to a business venture, which is any invention, right? And how to confidently make it successful.
When somebody's got this idea and, you go, okay, great. This is a good product. I think, we can definitely help you take this to the next level.
Uh-huh.
We're behind it. What does it look like on time for you? How much time are you devoting to this product?
It depends on the client. I mean,
Yeah.
there's iteration. Some problems take several. Some problems, like in just a past experience, a client came in, they asked a question, and I drew a sketch, and the consultation was over. It literally was 5 seconds later.
Oh, man.
So to answer your question, it all depends.
Yeah.
It all depends because the dynamics of each project is so different and what they need is so different.
What are some of the projects that you've worked on or that you're working on that you're really excited about? And I know with NDAs and stuff and inventions, it's kind of like we're inventing the better mousetrap. That's all I can tell you because
Mm.
that's all we do. But we talked about cannabis, that it's a new product that has limitless ideas. Outside of that, what are some other areas that people should be thinking about or that you're excited about that have a lot of potential for young people interested in industrial design to start thinking about?
Several. First ones that come to mind is the COVID masked culture paradigm, if you will, the pet exercise and health,
Sure,
which
right.
is one I'm really excited about. You'll be surprised. I came from the toy industry. The pet toy and accessory industry is 4 times larger.
Really?
Yeah. Just,
Whoa.
yeah. The difference between people's kids and their pets is if their kids break something, they're like, you're not getting another one. A pet, they break something, that you buy them a better one and more money.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Wow, what an interesting way of
Yeah.
thinking. Holy cow.
Yeah. So pet health, cannabis, is always, as you know, the COVID mask culture, personal health and sports, essentially. Let's see, what else are we like?
Yeah, COVID. I mean, I'm sure everyone's trying to think of the next great mask concept. Outside of masks, what else are people thinking about with COVID?
I mean, there's lots of things coming out. There are full face helmets, so to
Mhm.
speak. There are different ways. Well, the mask, as you put it, there's so many different iterations
Sure.
of it right now. The one I'm excited about is without going into too much detail, is an ownable, very low cost solution,
Okay.
super low cost, and yeah, so that's something very excited about. Toys, still games, still.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of games has become fascinating. All of a sudden, every Dungeons and Dragons fan is now, hey, we need you out here. Please come out of the dark. We need your help.
Right.
And I'm not a
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons person, but anytime I talk to somebody's Dungeons and Dragons fan, I'm like, I want to sit down and talk to you a little bit more. I missed all this. This
Yeah.
seems like you're actually problem solving this thing.
Yeah. I mean, talking about video games, I mean, we're working on a project right now that's allowing handicapped people to play video games, especially if they have a broken, a development issue with one of their limbs
Mm.
or fingers or whatever. And we're literally developing a product that allows one-handed users to be able to still play and enjoy video games.
Oh, wow. And no one's thought of this.
They have.
But it's the concept of able-bodied people and people with disabilities and limited capacity is a massive industry that, there's not much limitation to when people are thinking about invention. It's like, just look around you.
Right. Yeah.
Again, a big dumb moment, but it's like, okay, then when you're walking, because I asked you this before, but I think I have a better way of asking.
Okay.
Because it's difficult to ask some of these questions and sound smart because it's like, the question is, when you look at something like a zip tie,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone knows what a zip tie is and it's a brilliant product, or, as something as simple as a water bottle, and there's a million iterations of a water bottle. Do you get obsessed by that stuff when you see it and go, that's a great idea? Are you just done for the weekend? Or is it something you file back into, okay, I'll come back to that?
I look at it both ways. First, I'm inspired.
Okay.
Like, wow, how elegant. And just so you know, the zip tie is one of my top 5 favorite products ever.
Okay.
That Velcro, as you said earlier,
Okay.
my second, and then Lego. So in terms of seeing something, do I get obsessed? No. If anything, I'm filing it in my mind to use it to my advantage for future iteration of whatever I'm working on. They say great artists don't borrow, they steal. And so I steal a lot of concepts to make things better, but not copy.
Yeah,
But
sure. So let's go through that then. Because if I'm a student and I want to create something and I come to you, all right, I got 20 minutes with you and I've got this great idea for an invention. And I'm going to give you an invention just to make it easy. And it's not one I've thought about for a long time. I promise you. But, let's pick something that's COVID related and something like that. When somebody wants to go, I've got a great idea for a mask. And a mask is a very simple concept from the get-go. It's a piece of paper you put over your mouth and nose. What are the things that you would tell a student to start thinking about? You said research and iteration, but give me some specifics if you can of what do you need to be researching? What do you need to be thinking about?
Well, what other people do, but more importantly, what you can observe of people doing. And so the research isn't just going off and looking at trends and research the state of the industry and technology, but one of the most important things is to watch a user, whether it be for 4 hours, a whole day, or whatever, and see those minute scenarios that are those aha moments. Like, oh my God, there you go. So that's one of the things that I tell students to do is shadow. Kind of like anthropologists, right? Or
Right.
people that are out in the wild, or Jane Goodall. Stay away and watch the behavior
Okay.
because you will have so much insight that you cannot get from just computer or book research. The other part is to play.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, is to get in there, wear the mask, and put your objective observation mind on and see all of those moments where you're like, I hate it when, or God, why is this,
Write
write it down, email yourself, text yourself, or just create a list like I do, a growing live list each day, and then store it or analyze it later. But those are the two things that people don't realize is critical in terms of really thinking about and doing the process of innovation and design.
Because when you're thinking about masks and I'm looking at you and I'm thinking of myself, there's so many different things that were, different size ears, different nose bridges,
Yeah.
different chins. I've got a fat face. You've got a more angular face. So like, oh wow, yeah, this is kind of, there's all these little things that you've got to sit down and think about.
Yes. And so the other day I got an Uber
Mhm.
to pick me up because I had my car being serviced. And I asked the person to turn the air conditioning on because it was a really hot day in the East Bay. And he said, I can't because the air that's coming in is filtering. It might push what's in the air to me or from me to you. And so the window stayed open. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, but that's a problem.
Right.
Right. And so because of COVID, the way masks work, because a car is essentially an enclosed space, right? So thinking about where this mask and the environment it's in is another part
Right.
that'll give foundation for you to ponder.
Something to think about. Like,
Exactly.
great, you solved the nose problem.
Yeah.
My wife is Chinese, and so she has a very flat, broad nose.
I know exactly
And
what you're talking about.
and I see it with my son. He's got more of her nose,
Uh-huh.
and I've got a pudgy nose.
Sure.
So even sunglasses that it's
Yes.
like the nose bridge is totally different.
Right.
I pinched the little mask on my kid, and I'm like, buddy, you got no
not-
nose
nothing
here,
to
buddy.
pinch. Yeah, I get it.
I'm sorry. I pinched your nose again. Sorry, I pinched your nose again, kid. But yeah, and the environment makes sense. And aside from the thinky part, which is so important, what are some of the skills that you see that students should focus on and not worry about? Not an or, but an and. I mean, because when we see industrial designers, oftentimes we think of these amazing, these very unique style of sketches. It's almost this rendered, looking at it from a different, I don't even know what the term is anymore. My brain.
Three-quarter perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
going to say
whatever.
three-quarter perspective. Isn't there like a fancy term to make it sound better?
Perspective. Yep.
Okay. It's just so, ooh, and it's like, ooh, that's just cool. But is that necessary?
Absolutely. Yes. The caveat I have to put to that, though, is it doesn't have to be fully rendered or cool, if you will. The coolness and the value in sketching is if you can communicate. Okay. Someone might put a bunch of time into making something look highlighted or a certain material. But one thing that students or designers need to keep in mind is that it's about generating many iterations quickly. And so that drawing part, yes, you must know how to do it. Absolutely. In perspective, yes. But in terms of making it super cool and everything, I believe the coolness is whether you can get what's in here to your client's mind or whoever's mind.
Okay. And what other skill sets that you think students really, or no, I'm not going to say students. Well, anybody thinking about this, or yeah, they've got this idea. What else should they be thinking about as far as skills or things to develop?
Definitely modeling, 3D modeling, because the traditional modeling of building and making things with your hand are, dare I say, minimizing or
Sure.
evolving, I
Right.
guess.
VR is amazing. However, we do want to touch things.
Right.
That's that constant battle, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but modeling in general, the 3D digital modeling is a really big thing because now you can draw something, you could think of something, you could make something on a computer. And then with the advent of 3D printing, you can have it the next day. So those things, and I would say, even though we're not really teaching this per se, maybe it is something we should teach, is how to use 3D printers.
Okay.
Because
Right.
it's rapid prototyping. And I was just telling a client yesterday, look at this thing that I have in front of you. If this was 1980, you'd think that I was from Star Trek.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, it's literally this machine that if you time lapsed it, you'd be like, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so that's another skill I think people or aspiring designers or designers in general should really master, because to have something in reality is magic.
Yeah. That concept of, anytime I see rapid prototyping anything, it's just like,
It's crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is just make stuff all day. I just want to sit and watch it.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
You make a bunny? Make me a bunny.
Yeah. Essentially. No, the only thing about 3D printers is they're machines. They're
Mhm.
like cars and they need maintenance and
Mhm.
they mess up because they're machines and you got to fix them. So that in itself should be something that people should start to get comfortable with, essentially. With the technology, my daughters, they see it and they're just like, oh, yeah, it's the 3D printer,
Right.
which is cool because they're going to be used to the technology. And when they
Sure.
need to use it, they're like, oh, yeah, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
But for the general population, like my dad, right? He sees Invention and he's like, oh, I gave him a 3D printer. I believe that people that want to design should get used to this new emerging and soon to be ubiquitous technology.
Right. We all have mark making material, and then this is the new mark making device.
Right.
Yeah, that makes total sense. What else should people be thinking about as far as, skill set? Because you mentioned being able to, the iteration, the drawing concept, thinking about the world of 3D digital design,
Yep.
the visual aspect of it, the prototyping aspect of it. What's another skill set or some other things that somebody who's just starting out or kind of unsure, it's like, I can't invent, but I like invention. Some things to kind of, hey, head down this way or start thinking about this path. What skill sets do you see? Or here's a real question. When you're looking at your students who are coming, like, I want to be an inventor, what are some skill sets that you see that you've pushed them to and go, hey, you're really good at X. Let's spend some time with that.
I guess one of the things that I've seen recently that probably be more reflective of a general issue is communication. Start learning how to tell your story, because if you can't convince people, what's the point? Or get them to see your vision.
Right. Yeah. But you said story. What's different then in a pitch or a story, or how's the story structure for something like this go? Are you going, okay, Hansel and Gretel are walking up
Possibly.
the field and they see all this cannabis? And
Yes. Yes. Exactly that.
Really?
Yeah. You paint a picture. My mentor said that industrial design is like show business. Our sketches, our videos, our prototypes are all part of these things that create a story and picture for people to see that will become reality if they so choose to make it happen. So that's something that storytelling and creation is something that is a soft skill almost, or
Sure. Yeah.
that,
Yeah. That
that,
falls into that ubiquitous, ethereal,
yes.
the weird. It's like, you got to have it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Soft skill.
Yeah. I believe it can be learned over practice. And I tell my students that all the time. Before they present, I'm like, 15 minutes, everyone practice. No one does it. Actually, there's some that will do it. Like, come on. But it is a skill that can be honed and made stronger. Everyone seems to think that I'm so comfortable talking to people, and I guess I am now.
Mhm.
But before I walked in here, I was nervous. And when I was younger, I would not talk to anybody. I was super shy, really nerdy. That's why I drew all the time, because I wanted to express myself. However, being on this platform, so to speak, of designing and innovation, one of the things that you must be able to do is tell that story and tell it succinctly and with 110% passion. Because if you can't, there's so much competition that you're just going to not be heard and therefore fail.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know in the industrial design department, they have these big collaboration projects.
Yep.
And that seems to be a massive, almost the hardest part for the students is the presentation. Because, like you said, you were into art because you couldn't or didn't want to.
Right.
Couldn't is not the term. You didn't want to communicate at that time.
Yeah.
I felt more comfortable behind a camera, or the camera gave me the tool to then have an ego. Without a camera in my hand, I couldn't move forward.
Right.
So many people, when they come to art school, that it's almost their talisman. Forget it being a paintbrush and the thing. This is their talisman to move forward. And storytelling seems such a big part of the industrial design process. It's amazing to see that. What else that, or some traits that you notice from students over the years and in yourself and other designers that are traits for, I hate to say parents and narrow it down to the parents kid thing, but if somebody is thinking about industrial design as opposed to, painting, photography, and I know there's a lot that there's interconnected, but some traits for industrial designers to go, hey, that person over there, you might want to give them a very large nudge into this wacky world of industrial design. What are some traits that you see that really help that process?
Curiosity, for sure. If you're not interested in things, this is probably not the place for you to be because we're making things. Humility, because you're going to fail a lot. Like I said, 50 concepts before. Being formerly in the toy and game industry, if we got one concept out of 200, we succeeded.
Yeah, that's 199 failures that you have to go, whatever.
Yeah. They say hitting a baseball professionally is the hardest thing.
Absolutely.
Nope. I think being a designer is the hardest thing.
Yeah. Okay.
On average. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. 199. You did 199 failures.
Yeah. One of
today.
200. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and he's successful. What?
Yeah. Humility. Okay. What other traits that you see that pop up that you go, oh man, this one's going to make it?
Thick skin.
Thick skin. Okay.
For sure. If there's anything that I tell my students, don't fall in love with any one idea. You, as an industrial designer, you are trained to be a mass idea generator. So to fall in love with one means you're wasting resource and time on a single thing when you should be thinking about many.
Okay. Yeah. So 1,000 ideas of your brain pinballing all over the place is the good thing.
Yes.
Okay. 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 No, it's funny because as I've gotten older and spent a lot of time with industrial designers and, talking to more artists and, you look at art and you're going, as I've gotten older and have a son, as you know, and we always want to keep the parents of the students who are potentially going to school. It's like, hey, your son or daughter is bouncing off the walls. Yet then when you give them a pen, they immediately have sat down and focused and you can't pull the pen out of their hand.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
How do we focus that?
Yes. By exposing them. Yeah. Exposure, really. I believe that I've gone through my path through, IT and then into this and it helped. But if I can circumvent that first trial, so to speak, for my children and get them into what they're passionate about from the beginning and not waste that time. I hate saying that. But if I can empower my children earlier, not force them, mind you,
Sure.
empower them, that's all I really want.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one comes up, and I can imagine it's difficult to pinpoint, but what influences you when you're thinking about industrial design? And again, and please correct me for a better term for influencing you into industrial design, because that's such a broad term. But where do you go for influence for this? Where do you go to find ideas? I know you talked a lot about research,
Yeah.
but is there a go-to point or a go-to thing to start?
Yes. It's called Target or Walmart.
Okay.
Or honestly, go for a walk. Steve Jobs said it. When he was vexed by a certain issue, he went for a walk and talked with somebody. I believe that you've gotten emails from me. My sign off is perpetually inspired. I believe inspiration is everywhere. And the go-to, like you said, the thing that I do just first, just to give me a base, is to go a place where there's tons of things. Like I said, Target or Walmart. And I was just telling my student this the other day, I will literally walk up and down every single row, looking at everything and putting my industrial design mind on and saying, why is that cool? Oh yeah, there you go. And what's that? That too. And over again as my foundation.
Okay.
Because when I come back home and I analyze all that stuff I did in the field, it'll give rise to something else and something else. So to answer your question, a go-to Target.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny listening to you and how you're thinking and then what you're trying to create. You have to be surrounded by the cacophony of things. And you have to be bombarded with literally every single thing vying for your attention
Yes.
to make sense. So you can't focus. You can't be in an empty room. You must go nuts.
Well,
you must be tearing out the walls. What's behind the wall? What's behind the paint?
I can, it depends. Am I pondering an issue or a challenge or question? Because if so, some of the things that are really cool for me is just to close my eyes, and listen to music and just chill. Typically that doesn't last very long because I'll come up with something and I have to write it down. But if there was a way to kind of record your thoughts and put it down on paper, that would be amazing. There's an invention for you. But, actually, I think Elon's making the brain link or whatever. But yes, so I need, not that I need, but part of my process is to be immersed in stimulus. And it could be a movie. Again, problem because I watch a movie and I'm thinking about something, then I look down at my phone and I text myself and I missed part of the movie. So, but yeah, being out there, going to walk, taking a walk, going to Starbucks, wherever, there's inspiration everywhere to be found.
What you just said, I think, is that great thing that parents think about, or anybody. We've all met somebody that's like, man, hey, over here. But that immersed in stimuli, I guess it does take a brain that goes, give it to me. Just give me more. Yeah. Just jam it in. Wow. No, that's, you're nuts. That's great.
Yeah, I am. I am.
All right. Okay. Last thing, because, give me the 30-second pitch on what makes problem solving fun.
What makes problem solving fun?
Because I hear it from all of you guys who are really talented and good, that I'm a problem solver and it drives me batty because all I want to do is make pretty pictures and all you guys do is solve problems. Give me the pitch on why problem solving is where it's at.
Besides being a challenge, problem solving is fun because you are able to realize an idea, essentially. It allows you to create a solution. I know it seems so obvious, right? Why problem solve? Well, because you could solve problems.
Yeah.
But frankly, that is the fun in it, going through the whole process of searching this whole path of the Frodo bringing the ring to Mount Doom, right? I know the solution's there. How am I going to get there? Especially I'm being attacked from this side and pitfalls on that side and issues. The fun is that path. The beauty of problem solving is getting there. And obviously the realization of a solution, but beautiful as that is, I believe the path and the adventure going there is the fun of it.
Perfect. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to kill that. That's awesome.
Okay.
One of the things we don't want to skip over is you said a lot of things that make a lot of sense. And people are still going to want to wrap their head around it. And I'm going to have a hard time wrapping my head around it. We all think about it all the time. But how did you come up with a mission statement for your company? What's the nutshell of what it is you do with your company?
Well, As I said before, you find a problem statement, right? And the problem I found, especially as a designer working for big companies, is that the things that are produced are typically directed by those that control resources, specifically more like the elite, the 1%, so to speak,
Sure.
right? The regular people, we don't have as much control over that.
We're not controlling the flow of plastic into the world.
Oh, yes, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the reason why I started my company, is because I realized that the people that make things in this world are not regular people, so to speak.
Sure.
And my mission, after a lot of pondering and seeing all of this, is to help people realize the innate creativity that everyone has. And what's really interesting, and I don't know if it's timing because I started my company last year and COVID hit.
Yeah.
The garage entrepreneur
Sure.
is something that's kind of a byproduct out of this, and it's so fortunate for me, but fortunate for them because now I get to help empower them and possibly even create prosperity for their own through their own work and their own creativity. And so being a designer, knowing that I have this creativity and everyone else does, that if I can help them earn a life out of it that is fueled by their own passion and the fact that they're providing for themselves and their families, I don't know if there's anything more beautiful in that, especially as a creator.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that, and that's one of those things that, we live here in Silicon Valley. And so, it's a meme at this point of, which empty garage did some cool company start out of?
Right.
But the concept of entrepreneurship, the concept of being your own boss is always ebbing and flowing. And like you said, COVID has forced all of us to go, well, you literally have no more reason or room to procrastinate because you are literally stuck at home now.
Yes.
Figure it out.
Right.
Have you seen a legitimate influx in great ideas coming your way now?
I don't know because I don't have a basis to compare from. But like I said, luckily, I guess I got lucky in when we started this company because the whole COVID paradigm, so to speak, has brought a lot of garage entrepreneurs to me.
And when these entrepreneurs are looking for success or your idea of success, let's start there. What is a success for you? When somebody comes to you with a product, specifically, when they're looking at, to have you come and consult on a project, what does success look like?
And
I know that's-
fortunately and unfortunately, success is rooted in finance. Does this make you money? So to answer your question, can I help you achieve success to where you can create prosperity for you? Can you live off of your creation? That's the degree of success. That's how I measure success. It's not, oh, can you get it made?
Yeah.
Right? Can this creation of yours provide for your family?
Okay.
And
So
for you?
that's that far reaching.
That's,
Okay.
yeah.
That's the better way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes more sense instead of, can I sell this to somebody and be done with it? Or can I actually
live?
Yeah. And that seems to be more possible now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm going to jam that in there. That may even start it.
Okay.
So I'll ask you that question. When
Okay.
you look at entrepreneurship, is that your goal? Entrepreneurship sounds like, a lot of people want to be their own boss, but how important is that to you?
It's the one true goal.
Really?
Our motto for our company is design for the 99. Typically now the 99 work for the one. How about we all work for ourselves? And so entrepreneurship is not only a goal, but a mindset that we're hoping to help people adopt, because what is more fulfilling than be able to living off of your own creativity and passion? Nothing. And like I was just saying to you earlier, is this perspective of us whenever we get out of school to go work for somebody else is too ingrained in what we do in our practices. I believe that it should be balanced with this perspective that you can go to work for yourself and succeed, especially if you have people around you that can show you the way, guide you, and help you.
So there you have it. Some great advice and a great story. And I hope you took some notes, because if you've ever dreamed about a career in art and design, more and more art and design career opportunities are on the rise, and employers are on the hunt for the next generation of talented and, of course, skilled creative professionals. Here at Academy of Art University, you will get those work-ready skills that employers want. You can study on-site in downtown San Francisco and, of course, anywhere in the world with our online programs. To request info about our 40-plus areas of study in art and design, including game development, industrial design, illustration, and fine art, just visit our website at academyart.edu/creativemind. My name is Bobby Brill. Thanks for listening.